Hello, hello. Welcome again to another episode of Black Resistance and Mental Health. I am Dr. Charmaine Jackman and excited to continue our conversations about why it's so important for us to think about Black resistance and mental health as we continue to do this work. I'm excited for our guest today. We're going to be talking about food and nutrition and how that affects our mental health. Our guests today are Sue Ellen Anderson Haynes and Michael Haynes, co-founders of I Am Cultured. Now, I always like people to introduce themselves because they know themselves best. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us your name, your role, and what was going on in the community that prompted you to start your company. Sue Ellen, let's start with you.
All right, so Sue Ellen Anderson Haynes here. My role, I'm currently the co-founder of Cultured Health. I'm a registered dietitian of over 15 years. I've worked in a variety of settings, such as inpatient, outpatient. Also, I've worked with a variety of cultures from all over the world. And being a dietitian, I have the understanding of nutrition as a nutrition expert, right? And so, how do we start our company, or what do we see the problem was in the community? Well, as I saw different patients throughout my career, I saw that, patients were getting information that we provided, but it wasn't the exact thing that they needed. For example, I had a patient from another culture that I had to get ready for at the appointment, and such as other dietitians do, we get the necessary information and research about the particular patient's background and food. And then as we had the interview with the interpreter, questions came up such as, what is this particular food that this patient's eating? Is it starchy? Is it non-starchy? And I'm a certified diabetes educator, and so we need to know the exact particular type of food. Is it a starchy vegetable or non-starchy vegetable? Because if this particular patient is taking insulin, for example, we need to match the amount of insulin with the carbohydrate. So asking information about a starchy vegetable, does it have carbs or not, is really important. And so I turned to the interpreter and I was like, are you familiar with this food? And he's like, oh yeah, it's a starchy, or I'm not sure. And I thought, why am I asking the interpreter? Because I'm the nutrition expert. The interpreter is only here to interpret, what we're saying. And so then I thought of, this is not the most efficient way to serve this patient. They need a dietitian from their specific culture who understands these foods and these nuances and everything about their food more in depth than I did. And so I thought of, cultured health. We're going to match dietitians to clients based on culture. We're going to, make these appointments more efficient. We're going to make sure that we're getting better health outcomes for these particular patients, and waste less time at appointments, right? But overall, to help the patient become well and to understand that they don't have to give up particular foods, and there's no barriers in understanding their culture when they're meeting with a nutrition expert, because registered dietitians are food and nutrition experts, but we're not experts in everyone's culture.
That was a wonderful introduction, and we're going to get Michael in to introduce himself. But I think I love that idea of thinking about the cultural context around food, and I think when we see those lists of vegetables and the carbohydrate counts, I know I've never seen something for like plantains, right? And I think about that when I was doing a sugar free. I was like, where's plantains fall in this
It's
mess, right?
starchy, yeah.
I figured it's starchy, but I'm like, should I cheat? Like, and I think there are a lot of those fruits and vegetables that we grew up with, but those
Hmm.
don't necessarily we don't see those on the chart. So thank you,
Right, they're different in different cultures.
Michael. Let us know who you are. Prompted you to start the company.
Sure, thanks. So, Michael Haynes, you're also the co-founder of Cultured Health. My background is actually more so in financial services. For over the past 15 years, I've worked mainly in capital markets and involved with trading technologies. My role, I guess, is part of the Cultured Health is really thinking about the app itself and how it functions and works, but also had a general personal passion for health and the improved quality of life that it offers. So when I had the idea, I was really excited about it and thought this was something that we should embark upon. And also just having, friends and family members from, a variety of cultures, including my own background, and West Indian background, who have tried to improve health without the knowledge and information about, as you mentioned, Charmaine, specific foods or cuisines that may not be as popular in kind of the mainstream, and trying to figure out where that fits into some of their health goals and what they're trying to do. Seeing family members get advice from doctors on cut down on starches, so don't eat any pasta or potatoes. And then they go eat yam, right, and dasheen and sweet potato and everything else because they're avoiding rice and pasta, right? But that context is really important. Plants into your example is another one, right? And so that it's kind of seeing that personally with folks and close to me in my family and circle, and just kind of highlighted the need for something like this, where we could say, hey, we're going to find dietitians who are the food experts and align them with folks who match with them culturally. When we talk about culture, we think about a number of facets, including culture and background, but also language, how you communicate, religion, if it impacts how you eat, specific cuisines, so it can be regional within certain countries. And we think about the whole world essentially, right? And so it's not just specific to one culture, minorities, right? We do cast that broad net. So just understanding that a lot of folks from different areas are probably feeling this something very similar and would appreciate this type of capability.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about the app, I Am Cultured. What is it and how do people use it?
Sure. So the app is Cultured Health. Our
Website
website
is I Am Cultured. Okay.
right. The website is I Am Cultured Health. So you can check that out. I Am Cultured Health is website as well as Instagram. But the app itself and the company is Cultured Health. It's available on Apple and Android. To search for Cultured Health, and you'll get it. You can also go to our website, I Am Cultured Health. There are links there, so it's easy to get, free to download. And it works. It's pretty straightforward, and I think it's a format that folks may be familiar with from other apps, right? It's essentially a matching engine. We have two types of users. We have dietitians, and then we have folks who are seeking dietitians, right? So you can call them potential clients or prospective clients. Each person creates a profile, and they answer essentially a brief questionnaire that, if you're a client, gets to aspects of your culture and what's important for you in a dietitian match. And if for a dietitian, you're answering questions about your background, but also your expertise in these cultures. Your expertise actually matters, and certain specialties. And you can add more information, more personal information. What are your goals? Specialties and everything else. And essentially, you hit go, and then you see a list of matches. So if you're a client, you see a list of dietitians who you match with. You see your match score. You can reach out to them, say, hey, looks like we matched. I'd love to learn more about what you offer. For a dietitian, you enter information, you hit go, and then you see clients who are looking for folks like you, and you can reach out, right? So dietitians can reach out as well as clients. And so we, at this point, just really provide that match, that connection. So we don't offer services ourselves. We don't hire dietitians, but we are just playing matchmaker. And then once they're connected, they can go on from there and determine, hey, is this something that you want to pursue? And they can set that all up. We don't get involved in that at this stage. And so that's basically how the app works.
So and such parallels to what we're doing at InnoPsych with mental health, right? We're similar to you. We're a matchmaker in providing people access to mental health therapists. And so, what a wonderful resource. So, well, I
Absolutely.
gotta ask you this
Definitely.
because I have this question all the time, and I think we even talked about it. Dietitian and nutritionist, like, what's the difference? And do we need to know? Is it important to understand what the difference is between these two disciplines?
Yes. Yes, we do need to know. And so a registered dietitian is a nutritionist, but a nutritionist is not a registered dietitian. And so a registered dietitian has to go through coursework, complete work from an accredited
Mhm.
university, obtain now a master's degree, and take your dietetics
Mhm.
classes, similar to how a nurse takes their nursing
Mhm.
classes. Then you have to do a residency or
Mm.
internship depending on the timing and the frame of the rotation. Typically, it's could be anywhere from about a year. Mine was a 41-week rotation in different specialties: food service, clinical, outpatient, sports nutrition, um, private practice. So many many different areas that you rotate in, and then you sit for a board examination. After that board examination, then if you pass it, become a dietitian, a registered dietitian, and then you keep up with continuing education. You apply for licensure at that particular state level. And so nutritionists typically don't go through these um, steps. You can take a coursework and call yourself a nutritionist, or you could just not take any nutrition work and call yourself a nutritionist. So, a nutritionist is not regulated
Mm.
by law. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, but a dietitian can do exactly what a nutritionist does, plus more. We could work in clinical specialties, sports nutrition. We could work in the like NICU, where they take intensive care of infants or preemies. We could do private practice like I do as well. You could work in food service or food companies. So there's many specialties that you can work in as a registered dietitian, and there's some crossover as a nutritionist. But again, you're not going to find a nutritionist in the clinical setting, right? Doing a tube feeding or TPN a particular critically ill person. So we're working next to physicians, nurse practitioners, and other clinical specialties in these instances, and nutritionist is not. So that's basically the
Okay.
difference. So whenever you're looking for expertise on nutrition, I always recommend finding a person that has the RD or RDN as a credential, because you know that you're getting someone that's vetted and also very well-rounded and educated. Not to say the nutritionist is not educated, because I have a cousin who's a nutritionist, but she does not do the same work that I do. She works in a different setting, and she's not, like I said, working with patients on a regular basis. So this is something that you must look for when you're looking for nutrition
Okay.
expertise.
I love that. So the registered dietitian, which you often see the RD, is someone who's gone through often a master's level training. They're licensed in their state, so they're regulated and they've attended be accredited
Right.
programs.
And pass the board exam. Yeah, they just changed the requirements for dietitians to complete masters. There are some dietitians that have done just
Okay.
bachelors, and that is okay. But from now going forward, they have increased the requirements for registered dietitian. And sometimes dietitians may say registered dietitian nutritionist, so you may see RDN or RD, but they're the
Gotcha.
same thing.
And my guess is probably why you started your company is going through your program, there probably weren't a lot of culturally specific attention around different foods. Similar to in mental health,
Right.
where we learn about primarily white people and people of color were sometimes like an add on. Maybe that was one course, and then you never had to think about it again.
hmm
My your experience was
Yes.
similar, white, hence cultured health.
Yeah, so we learn about, cultural competence is important in our field, right? And we do learn about some cultures, but it's not, like I said, in depth, right? There's so many different
Right.
cultures. It's kind of hard to grasp every single one, how they're eating, what foods, but we do have continuing education and classes that we are supposed to take and we're supposed to keep up with. But again, that next level type of care is what cultured health is providing. The person that speaks your language, understands your religion and nuances, your culture, everything about you, that you need to provide a plan for you to improve your health. That is what we're doing. And in the field of dietetics, there's not many diverse individuals. So we're kind of creating this hub of dietitians, and we're also creating a space for dietitian entrepreneurs to prosper, because we are trying to
Mhm.
improve diverse dietitian entrepreneurs and create resources for them so they can continue their work as a dietitian of color, right? And then we're also trying to improve health outcomes of diverse communities that need a specific one-on-one care that we're creating these matches
Nice.
for.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'll just add on there. I mean, the cultural competent component is really important. The training is great, and there are folks who do that, and it's needed, because the need is just so vast, right? But there's also a space for, hey, there is a provider with whom there's a cultural connection that's shared. I mean, studies have shown outcomes of patients
Hmm.
and satisfaction of patients who deal with providers, whether it's dietitians, doctors, psychologists,
Mhm.
whomever, where there is a cultural connection and added sense of familiarity, of trust, and so that's it's something that we wanted to make sure. Hey, let's try to facilitate this, and with dietitians, it's it's an area where you don't necessarily have to be in person physically examining somebody, right? So you may find your perfect match across the country. They may be licensed in your state, and you would never meet otherwise unless through this app, right? And so because of the nature of the work, how it lends itself to doing things from distance, right, and counseling, we want to make sure let's get as broad as we can to get everyone in to try to find that best match.
Yeah. So telehealth is something that we we see that it's growing and is important for cultural health, especially with dietitian entrepreneurs who are seeing patients across different areas.
Okay. Love it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about food, our relationship with food, and how that impacts our mental health. I'm sure there's a lot we can talk around that piece. But I was really curious to get your thoughts, Wellen, about I think about the Black community, like a lot of our community and our events and our gatherings centers around food. Who's the best cook, right? And our
Right.
foods, and also kind of historically what they were doing for our bodies and how that might have changed, but we're still eating the same way we used to eat. And yeah, so I'm just thinking, yeah, love your thoughts. Any pieces around that you want to pick up and thread, we can unpack that together.
Yes, so our relationship with food is, broad, and I don't know if we have the space to talk about everything, but I know that it definitely um, plays a role in mental health, right? And the connection is pretty deep. And when we think about dietitians and the relationship with patients, we want to make sure that they're having a healthy relationship with food. If you're not having a healthy relationship with food, it lends to issues such as eating disorders, right? Body image issues. You're eating to cope with a specific condition, or we say emotional eating, right? So sometimes people eat to reduce anxiety and stress, or can cause foods you're eating can also cause anxiety and stress, and to kind of continue that path, there's deficiencies that people may have, such as deficiencies in like B12, B9 or folate, and like zinc. These may increase your risk for conditions such as depression, cognitive decline, irritability, like fatigue, and this mood disorders. And so if we're not eating the correct foods to supply these needs, then we're going to have these conditions. And our diet in the society where we're in, the Western diet, people may call it, right, or the SAD diet, um, is consists of foods high in saturated fat, high in sugar, and also in salt, right? And in the community, in our Black community, or minority communities, we're eating a lot of those foods because sometimes it's the environment, right? Where the food's situated. Do we have a local grocery store with Whole Foods? It's you know these contributions to society where we're not able to get the things that we need. But beyond that, as a society, what else can we do? And so when we think about foods that we can eat, the choices that we make every day can impact the way that we think. And research strongly shows that foods, the Western diet, these particular high fat, high sodium foods can impact our hippocampus, which is like the limbic system, right? Our learning, our emotion. And so they have had studies to show that there's correlations between increased risk of ADHD. We're seeing mental cognitive decline in individuals that are eating these foods, even depression, right? So what we want to do is making sure that we're consuming foods that are going to nourish us mind and body, and that we're using it as a tool to improve our hippocampus, because we want that to grow, right? If our hippocampus shrinks with this particular food, we're not going to have good mental acuity. We're not going to be, sharp. We're going to, be moody, and that plays into the role of mental health disorders, right? Any patient that has a mental health disorder needs to follow a particular diet or lifestyle to help improve it, because studies are showing that it will decline if you're not eating these particular ways. And so when we talk about the relationship with food, if our relationship is not healthy with foods, then our mind will be, you know, unhealthy. Our physical, body, you're not going to feel well, want to move well, is going to be unhealthy. And I just feel like, culturally,
Yeah.
there's different. things that people may enjoy to eat, and we don't want to take away the foods that they like. We just want to particularly maybe modify it, the way they're cooking it or the amount that they're using, replace certain things with herbs and spices. So when we think about culture, we want to make sure that we are honoring our cultural foods, right? But we want to make sure that it's in a way that it's improving our health so that our mind and body can
Yeah,
flourish.
absolutely. Such powerful knowledge. And I think that connection, I didn't even realize that as a psychologist, that connection to the foods and that the sad diet that you mentioned, how that can impact our hippocampus, which again, as you mentioned, is our emotion center, right? It centers our brain and all those
Hmm.
things. So great education today. I just
Right.
want to kind of, as we kind of get ready to close out, what are some ways that food helps to liberate us? And I think that you already started to share that, but one or two things that
Hmm.
how is having a healthy relationship with food part of our own Black resistance? And I think you mentioned that really not it doesn't mean you have to change your diet. Well, not
Hmm.
necessarily
Per
change
se.
what you eat, but maybe you modify
Yeah.
how it's prepared,
Right.
right? And I think that is such a liberating way to think about because I think our again, like, my auntie loved cooking me the cuckoo and flying fish, right? And so like, how do we, instead of having maybe the fried fish, maybe the fish is steamed, right? So thinking about ways that we can
Steamed.
still
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
those foods that bring us joy, uh, doing that in a
Right.
modified way. So before we close out, any events that you have coming up that you want to share with us? How can people find you? Any last words that you want to leave with us today?
Yeah, sure. So we can be found in a bunch of places, right? So we have our site, iamculturedhealth.com. So lots of information there for the general public, as well as a specific section for dietitians. For those who want to join, there's a lot of resources there and everything else. So find us there on Instagram at iamculturedhealth. And you can contact us through any of those means. We do have an event coming up. I think September 17th. We'll be
Hmm.
co-hosting with an organization called Old Ways around uh, a, in Hispanic Heritage Month and some of the benefits of
Mm,
that cuisine there. And one of our dietitians will be presenting and doing a
A
cooking
cooking
demo as
demo.
well. So more
Hmm.
information to come. We'll definitely send
right.
that out.
Hmm.
But planning a lot more as well. We have a number of items on the calendar we're trying to lock down. So happy to share those as they get finalized.
Great.
Yeah, and I would just like to share that our app is US and in Canada. So we're trying to improve our connections and do more marketing as we continue to grow to get the word out. And we're not just focusing on dietitian entrepreneurs. We were connecting with organizations that are looking for
Mm,
dietitians or hospitals, facilities, and things of that sort. So we know that diversity improves not just health outcome, but it improves the quality of care for individuals and in just in a setting, right? In an organization, when you're more diverse, your organization is going to grow, right? And so we're reaching out to organizations that may want to connect with us, and so hopefully you'll see more marketing on that end. And we thank you for having us on your podcast
yeah,
today.
thank you. This was wonderful. And I feel like we need to do, there's so many things we didn't even get to talk to yet. So I
Oh,
think,
I know.
I think we're going to have to schedule it. And I feel like this could even be more of a webinar, right? We're talking about like menopause.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I look for ways to continue to partner. Again, it's amazing. I know how we connected. It was just wonderful to see like we're doing kind of the exact same thing, but just tackling, different aspects
Different aspects
of
The
of
need is
health.
yeah,
there. The need is there, and we're trying
yeah.
to fill that
I
gap.
love the alignment that we have. So thank you again for being here, Sue Ellen and Michael. And take care and check out our upcoming episodes. Take care.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. Bye bye.